With Cisco Enterprise Agreements 3.0, doing business with Cisco has never been easier. Consolidated, co-term solution support for Cisco hardware and software is now available in one simple contract. I sat down with Cisco's Brian Blatnick to talk about all that's new with enterprise agreements on Inside Track. Well, thank you today for joining us, Brian, on Inside Track. So, it's no secret that doing business with Cisco can involve, let's just say, a lot of administrivia. But enterprise agreements have really started to make things easier for our customers. So, can you give me an overall primer on what all enterprise agreements entail?
Frank, there's hundreds, maybe thousands of product managers across Cisco who wake up every day and think about how can I make my customers' experience using my product better? How do I make it more productive? How do I make it easier? How do I make it more delightful? I am not one of those product managers. Instead, I wake up every day and think about how do I get our customers' experience purchasing our products to be easier, more delightful, or at least a little less painful. So we've taken a big step forward in that direction with the new enterprise agreement. And, Frank, we've had one of our partners, Trace3, on one of the earlier episodes talking about that with us. And I have a little more context on the deal they did recently with a big financial services customer. And this customer had hundreds of support contracts, and they all had different renewal dates and different service levels. It was a mess. And I'm not just talking about it being a nuisance. There are people on payroll that do nothing else but manage these contracts. So there's real hard dollars to be saved by bringing these all together under a single agreement with a co-termed end date and a lot more simplicity, standard terms and conditions across all of them. And that's just to start. Then, as the course of the term of the contract proceeds forward and the customer adds additional gear from Cisco, that's automatically brought under the contract, under the preferred service level. And then at the end of the year, Trace3 or whichever partner can go and have a conversation, say, oh, this is how much your install base has increased over the year. Let's settle up the bill for the remainder of the term. So if nothing else, those commercial terms are extremely compelling for our customers with real hard cost savings in there. And that's before we even talk about all the cool service offerings that we're now putting into the enterprise agreement, which was previously all about software procurement.
Well, let's talk about some of those really cool support that you get with the enterprise agreement. So basically, once you sign the enterprise agreement with services, you get solution support as a baseline. And solution support has really evolved to help customers with these multi-technology scenarios. So can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, certainly. So you're right. Solution support is the foundational level of support for enterprise agreement customers. And when there's an outage and every minute counts, you'll be glad to have the level of service that gets your call to the front of the queue. So someone answers the phone quicker. And the person who does answer the phone is already an expert in your entire solution domain, not just a particular product area, and can get you to a faster resolution. So as you rightly point out, Frank, customers are buying multiple technologies from Cisco. That's one of the value propositions of a large product portfolio like ours. And typically, they're buying multiple products from Cisco to accomplish a particular solution domain, and they're integrating products from our technology alliance partners. And so there's many products as part of the solution. And in the past, and even with many of our competitors today, if you have an issue, you have to do some troubleshooting first and triaging, figure out what exactly broke before you even call the tech, right? But not so with solution support. Cisco then is the one centralized place to call for help, and we'll help you troubleshoot where in the network the problem is happening. And if, by the way, that happens to be with one of our technology partner products, we have all the arrangements in the back end, so our TAC can call their TAC on the back end on behalf of our mutual customer and figure out what's going on and get to a resolution much faster. So for our enterprise agreement customers, we're making a significant investment in Cisco and a strategic partnership with Cisco. Solution support really is the new SmartNet, and it's the service offering that we've included into the enterprise agreement for that reason.
So solution support has really become your one-stop shop for support, like you said. That is so great. So, I've talked to sellers about enterprise agreements, and I've talked to our customers about enterprise agreements, and everybody agrees, like, hey, these are a no-brainer. The only thing they've really complained about is, in the past, like, hey, there's only been a couple of technologies for which you could get the services part. But now with EA 3.0, we're changing that. So tell us, what all are we adding?
Certainly, and it's music to my ears to hear that people are saying it's a no-brainer. I tend to agree. So when we introduced the services portfolio into the old version of the enterprise agreement, we focused on the networking infrastructure products. So we have solution support available for routing, switching, wireless, and data center networking. And we're carrying all this forward into the new enterprise agreement. But we're also adding now HyperFlex and Intersight in the applications infrastructure domain. And we're adding 9 suites, 9 different product areas in the security portfolio. And those products not only have the solution support level, but they have 2 additional tiers of higher levels of service, where we start to bring in some of the proactive deliverables, not just the reactive support, but the proactive deliverables that are focused on customer success and lifecycle adoption and so on. And some of the deliverables you may be familiar with if you purchased our enhanced or premium software support. So that is a foreshadowing of where we're really going with the services portfolio and having that mix of reactive and proactive. We can talk about that a little bit more later. But absolutely, we're now expanding the number of products and technologies that can be covered as part of the service portfolio in EA 3.0.
And as a customer, can I combine multiple technologies into a single enterprise agreement?
Yes, absolutely. That is part of the one of the key messages around how the enterprise agreement has evolved. So there's a number of different things we should talk about. We've already talked about the single experience in terms of the contract and having standardized terms and conditions, a single end date, and so on. And that single experience actually also extends to the digital experience. So part of what you get as an enterprise agreement customer is access to EA Workspace, which is your one-stop shop to see how many software licenses you've consumed already, what your service coverage is. You can go get more software licenses and download those, and that's a huge part of the single experience as well. In addition, with the new enterprise agreement, we have lowered the barriers to entry. So not only is it multiple technologies all combined together, as we just discussed, you can combine your purchases and all those technologies to meet the purchase minimums. So in a way, we're expanding the reach of the enterprise agreement to customers who previously didn't have enough total purchase with Cisco to meet the minimums. And then I think that some of the key things around the new enterprise agreement is how you can expand from one technology area to another or from product to services. And so let me give you 3 examples, kind of going from small to big on that. The first example is within a suite, within our enterprise networking space, we see a lot of customers who are moving from products that are controlled by DNA to Meraki products, right? That's a very natural transition, and we're facilitating that as best as we can. And within the enterprise agreement, we have this concept of value shift. And what that means is, as I am decommissioning the products that are on DNA and replacing them with Meraki controlled products, I can take the value of the licenses that I'm no longer using on DNA and use that to offset the value of what would be a true forward on the Meraki licenses. So that's a huge benefit. You can't get that anywhere else.
Wow, that's big.
Or with any of our competitors as well. So that's a huge benefit, just as one example of how the EA allows you to extend into adjacent product areas. There's another feature of the EA 3.0, which we're calling partial commit. And so let me explain that one a little bit more as well. So if you have a full enterprise-wide commit in one product area, we'll say switching, right? And you want to extend that. You want to maybe move to wireless, but you don't have the ability to bring in all the install base for that yet. Maybe that's a different buying center, for whatever reason. That can be part of the proposition right now. But if you've already made that commitment in one area, we're allowing you to go into adjacent product areas and just start adding whatever new purchases you make in that area. We just add it to the enterprise agreement, the software licenses and the corresponding services that go with it. And then it becomes part of the true forward process every year and so on. And then eventually you might get around to bringing in the entire install base and realize the full benefits of the EA. But that's another way where there's a lot more flexibility in the enterprise agreement versus the prior version. I think the last thing there is just the way, at maybe the biggest macro level, right? The way the EA is structured now with 5 portfolios, 3 of them are networking and applications and collaboration are kind of the core software portfolios. And then the other 2 are services and security, both of which can be added to any one of the prior 3. So that's just another example of how within the EA you can just extend the value of that to additional product areas.
So when I think, about I'm selling to customers as somebody who's in marketing, I usually think about the technical buyer. You know, I'm thinking about a network operations manager or a SecOps person. I'm not really thinking about people that are having to deal with all these contracts. But what I've started to see is that, you know, the procurement folks or the strategic sourcing managers now, I mean, that's a really critical strategic role. And it seems like we're working with those folks more. So can you tell me, how are we working with these folks?
And you and I have talked about how analysts like IDC are writing about these trends and the increasing role of strategic sourcing managers because IT is getting more complex and there's just more going on. And so these strategic sourcing managers are partnering with the IT buyers, who are the ones that are actually paying for their technology. But these are the guys that are having to deal with these hundreds, if not thousands, of contracts. So as IT continues to get more complex, more third-party software for remote work and more security and cloud business transformation, et cetera, right? And everyone's looking for the simplicity, and absolutely the EA is compelling for the community of strategic sourcing managers.
Now, you had mentioned Trace3, a partner selling these. So if our customers are already working with a partner, can they buy one of these enterprise agreements from a partner?
Absolutely, yes. So if you are a Cisco customer and your preferred partner is probably already authorized to sell the EA to you. So definitely work with them, and they are eager to do so because remember, all these complexities that we're talking about, our partners are dealing with as well. They would be much happier with having you as a customer onto a single agreement without these hundreds of contracts and so on. So they're eager to do this. And one additional thing that's new with the enterprise agreement with this latest release is the ability to have multiple partners. You may be saying, well, this is great. I can bring in all these technology areas, but I have one partner that I work with for collaboration and another partner that I work with for my networking products. And within the EA 3.0 construct, we have the ability to have a different partner for each of the 4 product areas. So up to 4 partners, all under the same agreement. So you get the benefits of the enterprise. And you can continue to work with the partner that you've worked with for many years in the different technology areas.
Wow. So you get the best of both worlds. You get the partner who specializes in the technology that you want, but you then also get all the benefits of this contract called consolidation.
Absolutely, yes.
That is great. Well, tell me, when are all these new technologies and capabilities gonna launch?
They have launched already. So you can go in, start working with your partner today. And talk about where you want to go with the enterprise agreement, so absolutely do that. And this is just where we're getting started. As I already alluded to, we are putting more and more into the services portfolio into the enterprise agreements, and over time we're going to have 3 different levels of service options available for each of the technology areas, not just security like we talked about earlier. And each of those 3 options are going to be a mix of the reactive support plus insights and analytics and expert resources and learning that are more of the proactive lifecycle kind of deliverables. And if this is sounding familiar, it's because it is. It's success tracks, right? So the 3 options are going to be success tracks level 1, 2, and 3. So that's where we're going over the next 12 to 18 months. You'll start to see more and more of that, but don't wait for that, right? Start today with solution support. Get the premium level of support for all the reasons that we talked about earlier. Start working with your partner and take advantage of bringing services into the same agreement along with all your software purchases inside of the enterprise agreement.
To learn more about enterprise agreements and Cisco support services, click the button on screen.